You ever seen someone get drenched in first class, custom-tailored suits soaked in champagne, just because they dared to sit where someone like him wasn't supposed to be? Yeah, that happened. The worst part? He didn't even flinch. Just sat there, blinking, while the woman who did it, blonde, smug, the kind that weaponizes her last name, murmured, "Your kind belongs in Coach," like she was doing him a favor by saying it out loud. But let me back up a sec, because the story doesn't start with champagne. It starts with grit. Malcolm Reed didn't grow up with luxury or first-class anything. Southside Detroit, two-bedroom apartment, cracked ceilings, heating that worked half the year if you were lucky. His mom, Regina, worked 3 jobs: waitress at a diner, janitor at a law firm, front desk clerk at a cheap motel on weekends. And yet, every night, no matter how tired she was, she'd sit next to Malcolm with a flashlight and check his homework. "You don't get to mess up, baby," she'd say. "You gotta be twice as good just to be seen as enough." So Malcolm learned early. No shortcuts, no excuses. He studied while the other kids played ball. He walked extra blocks to avoid gang corners. And when his high school counselor slid a brochure across the desk and said, "This right here, MIT, you should try," he did. Full ride. But college wasn't easier. It just had fancier racism. Study groups always full, professors surprised by his presentation skills, recruiters assuming he was the tech support guy. So what did he do? Graduated top of his class, and said no to all the big offers. Instead, he and his best friend Omar, 2 broke kids with secondhand laptops, started a cybersecurity firm out of a studio apartment. First few years? Rough. Investors would light up when they saw Malcolm's resume, then dim down when he walked into the room. One even asked, "So, is the actual founder joining us later?" Yeah, that happened too. But they kept at it. Late nights, cold calls, rewriting code until their hands cramped. The breakthrough came when a mid-sized bank got hit by ransomware. 3 big-name firms failed to stop it. Malcolm fixed it in 36 hours. And that was the crack that opened the floodgate. Fast forward 15 years. Their company, Vanguard Systems, now had offices in 4 states, 600 employees, and a reputation for solving digital disasters that no one else could touch. Malcolm still owned most of it, still wore the same blue tie his mom gave him the day he landed his first client. So when Titan Core Industries, one of the biggest tech giants in the country, offered a deal to acquire part of Vanguard and keep Malcolm as CEO, it wasn't just a win, it was validation, the kind that echoes back to every kid who ever got laughed at for dreaming too big. The meeting was set for Thursday in San Francisco, a 9-figure deal, global expansion, full scholarships for inner-city STEM students through Malcolm's nonprofit. Wednesday morning, Malcolm boards a flight from Chicago to the Bay, first class, of course. He's got his portfolio, his slides, his lucky tie. The gate agent recognizes his name, smiles. "Enjoy your flight, Mr. Reed." But the moment he steps into the cabin, it starts. A pause. Then the woman in 2A, pearls, pressed suit, passive-aggressive tone says, "Excuse me, I think there's been a mistake. This seat is reserved for first class." Malcolm nods, polite. "It is. I'm in 2B." She doesn't move. Instead, she turns to the flight attendant and says, "I'd like to speak to someone in charge." Victoria, the attendant, tries to defuse it, but the woman presses on. "I need to verify his boarding pass." You could feel the air change, that quiet hum of discomfort, eyes turning, a few heads shaking slowly. But Malcolm doesn't raise his voice, doesn't flash credentials. He just breathes. Deep. Then comes the champagne. She reaches for her glass, deliberate as hell, and fumbles right over Malcolm's lap, soaks his shirt, his tablet, his tie. "Oh my," she says, with a fake gasp. "These narrow cabins, right?" Victoria jumps in with towels, apologizing profusely. Malcolm just nods, silent, focused, already wiping down his device. What she didn't know is that sitting across the aisle watching the whole thing was none other than Henry Caldwell, CEO of Titan Core. And he wasn't just there for a meeting, he was the one signing the damn deal. When the woman got up to make a phone call, something about her husband financing half the airline, Caldwell leaned over and said, "Mr. Reed, I hope you'll forgive the interruption. It's a pleasure to meet you in person." Malcolm smiled. The pleasure's mine, Mr. Caldwell. They talk business, vision, ethics. Caldwell's impressed, not just with Malcolm's ideas, but how he carries himself. Calm under fire, never losing sight of the mission. Meanwhile, Karen, let's just call her that now, realizes who she's been mouthing off in front of. Her face drains. She reapplies lipstick, straightens her blouse, then walks over like nothing happened. "Mr. Reed," she says with a syrupy tone, "I just want to apologize for the unfortunate turbulence earlier." He looks at her, cool, measured, and says, "Mrs. Langford, I don't need an apology for the champagne. I need you to understand that what you did wasn't about turbulence. It was about assumption. Yours." The cabin goes still. She stammers, "You're all twisting my words. This is a witch hunt. Do you know who my husband is?" Yeah, she actually said that. Minutes later, airport security boards the plane, quiet, firm. They speak to the captain, to Victoria, then walk straight to Karen. "Ma'am, based on crew reports and witness statements, we need you to come with us." She flips, screams about conspiracies, about how she's the victim, but no one's buying it. Passengers are filming, and when she's escorted off that plane, you could hear a pin drop. The captain comes back on the mic. "We'll be departing shortly. Thank you for your patience." Malcolm exhales. Finally. Caldwell turns to him and says, "You handled that with more grace than most. That's the kind of leadership we need." Malcolm smiles. Just a little. It's not the first time, won't be the last. And he's right. 2 weeks later, Malcolm's standing on stage at the National Business Forum in San Francisco, delivering a keynote that gets a standing ovation. He talks about systems, about barriers, about how real leadership isn't loud, it's consistent. Then he unveils the Regina Fund, named after his mother. Full scholarships for students of color in underserved neighborhoods, mentorship, coding camps, access. You could feel the room shift. Not just inspired, changed. And somewhere out there, Karen Langford's husband? Yeah, his firm lost a major client that month. Turns out Titan Core doesn't play well with bigotry. Who knew? But here's the thing. Malcolm didn't set out to ruin her. He just refused to shrink. And in doing so, he expanded the path for every kid like him, watching from the outside, wondering if they'd ever get a seat in first class, without having to fight for the right to exist in it. So now I'm curious. Was Malcolm too calm? Should he have spoken up sooner? Or was this the perfect takedown? Quiet, dignified, undeniable? Let me know in the comments. What would you have done? If this story moved you even just a little, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs a reminder that dignity is power, and subscribe for more true stories of justice that hit where it hurts, because one video at a time, we're rewriting what power looks like.